Hey, welcome to another episode of Mike's Collection. I'm Mike, and I haven't posted any videos in about a week or so, so I apologize to my loyal viewers that I haven't been around, but I had a good reason. I was on vacation in paradise. So I just spent 7 beautiful days in Mexico, and the reason I was down there is because I was getting hitched.
There is a torch for your dog, not only your own, but also another one.
So it's been a pretty good week for me, but that doesn't mean, I was very busy with wedding stuff. I was still getting new toys. I got some while I was away, and I got some more almost immediately when I got back. So I've actually got quite a bit of stuff to show you because I had got a few purchases in the week or so before I left. And so for me to show you all of those things, I think that's what I'm going to focus on this episode, just showing you new stuff. So I'm not really going to get into any comic books or movies like I typically do on these kind of catch-all episodes. So I can't even think of any comic books that I've read of note. I'm a couple weeks behind. I'm hoping to go get my new comic books tomorrow, so I'm going to have a pretty good stack of stuff to talk about later. I, of course, saw Avengers Endgame. I assume anybody watching this would have seen it by now. I almost don't feel there's anything left to really be said about that movie. It was awesome. I was just sitting there with a smile on my face the whole time I was watching it. Can't believe, as a kid that grew up reading comic books, that I'm seeing all this happen on screen. Just amazing. The runtime didn't bother me at all. I could have sat there even longer. So thought it was great. But that should come as no surprise. So if you haven't seen it, go see it. Let's just jump right into the toys that I've got since I last talked to you. So the first couple that I'm going to show you, I actually got and recorded about a week and a half ago, and then I'll jump into the new stuff. So on those first couple toys that you're going to see, you'll notice that this little guy is missing, but then you'll see him on the newest stuff. So let's take a look. So the first new figure I got this week is this Puma from the latest Spider-Man wave of Marvel Legends. In my last videos, I showed you I got the Red Goblin and the Black Symbiote Spider-Man already from this wave. There's still a few more I need, but I did find Puma this week. So he's a classic Spidey villain. And this is a cool figure. It does him justice. It definitely looks like Puma in his classic outfit. Now, when he's not in Puma mode, he is Thomas Fireheart, a Native American businessman. And so that's why you can see he's got some of the feather motif there representing his Native American heritage. And it's a pretty cool figure. Now, the one thing I would maybe change about it, even though this is a really nice head sculpt, is it's a little more feral than I would like it to be. Now, he definitely has looked feral sometimes, but I'm more associating with a more kind of stoic appearance. I would have maybe liked if there was alternate heads, so maybe one yelling like this and then another one with its mouth closed, looking a little more calm and collected here. But otherwise, that's really my only gripe about this figure. I think he's pretty cool. And I think this is actually the first Puma action figure ever. And this is a guy that's been around a while. Like this here is his very first appearance. This came out in 84. And so for characters that's been around since 1984 to just be getting an action figure now, it's pretty crazy. I think there was a cute little version in the Superhero Squad figures when I looked online, but I don't think there was any other full-on action figure of him. So this is pretty cool. I'm glad to finally get him. And Puma came with the torso to the Build-A-Figure Kingpin here. So you see my Kingpins coming along nicely. I just need a Black Cat, Silver Sable, and Night Thrasher. And then I'll have the rest of his limbs, and I'll have a complete Kingpin. And this is shaping up to be an awesome figure. So this week I also picked up this little Transformer. His name is Fire Drive. In the original toy line, his name was different. I think it was Fire Blast or something along those lines. Anyway, he's a target master, so which means he basically transformed into a little gun for other Transformers to use. So yeah, let's pop him open and take a look at him. So here he is. This is Fire Drive. Let me bring him up close so we can actually take a look at him. So he's actually got quite a bit of sculpted detail for such a small little Transformer. And there's a bunch of these guys that have come out as part of the newest line, Transformers Siege. And I really had no interest in getting these little guys, partly because I have no ties to the character themselves, and they just kind of seem like a waste of money. Like this guy here was $8, and there's no articulation really. Like his arms and legs move up and down, side to side on kind of ball joints. But he doesn't have elbows or knees. His head doesn't turn. So yeah, he feels kind of like a cash grab from Hasbro. Like the old vintage figure, he came packaged with Hot Rod. So Hot Rod was the main selling feature, and then you just got this little guy that was his gun that happened to flip into a robot. And now you got to pay for just the gun separately. So I don't normally transform these things on these videos, but I think he's probably easy enough to do. So here he is in gun mode. And it's kind of funny, when I first opened this up, I kind of laughed that a little Transformer like this actually still came with instruction sheets to transform him, because I really thought it was literally just folding his legs over. But I actually kind of needed these instructions to help me get him correct. So there he is as a gun. That peg would go into a Transformer's hand. And one thing that's kind of cool is he came with these little energy blasts. So it can appear as though he's firing some sort of energon beam. So here's Sideswipe, using him as a gun. And one neat little feature is those little energy blasts can be used on the standard weapons that came with the figure. So this is Sideswipe's gun that he came packaged with, and you can plop that little energy blast on there, and there you go. So is he worth $8? I don't know, but he's pretty cute. And I saw somebody on Instagram post some pictures of him, and that's what convinced me to pick him up, because yeah, for such a little guy, I like his colors, and yeah, I like the details on him. So there you go. So next up, I got a couple of Funko Pops. Now these are both UFC fighters. So I've got George St. Pierre and Khabib Nurmagomedov, who is the current champ, although I think currently suspended, so his belt is up for grabs right now. And yeah, George St. Pierre retired as the champ. So yeah, let's pop these open and take a look. So here they are out of the package. Now I'm not really a sports guy, but I do love my mixed martial arts. I watch pretty much every UFC event that comes on. I've had the opportunity to see it live here because it's actually come up to Atlantic Canada 3 times now. I've been to all the events. Unfortunately, I never got to see GSP fight live. As a Canadian, he's kind of my favorite fighter by default, I guess. Everybody loves GSP up here. So it's kind of cool. He's got his Canadian flag draped over his shoulder. And his belt, of course. And yeah, so it's a cute little figure. And then Khabib. So he's a Russian fighter. And if you're not familiar with him, he doesn't have a crazy haircut like that. This is like a traditional Russian hat that he wears to the ring on his walkout. But I like the fact that they've got his kind of like chin strap stubble there. And he's got a little shirt with his name on it there. And his shorts as well, say Nurmagomedov. And yeah, it's a cool figure. I like with these Pops, when at a glance, you can tell exactly who they are. And that's the case with these guys. So next up, I have a couple of more Funko Pops. So this is Steve and Doug Butabi from Saturday Night Live and Night at the Roxbury, the spin-off movie. So let's pop these guys open. So here are Steve and Doug. Now, I'm a big Saturday Night Live fan. I remember when this skit first came out and Jim Carrey was the host, and I thought it was hilarious. And I had that episode taped, and I would show it to all my friends for a long time. And then they kind of brought these characters back time and time again with different hosts playing like the third buddy. And yeah, then eventually it got made into a full-length movie, Night at the Roxbury. So it's the kind of skit that you're always like, how are they going to turn this into a feature-length movie? Because it's kind of a one-note joke. But I liked the movie too, so there you go. Will Ferrell and Chris Kattan. This is pretty cool. And these guys were convention exclusives, so they weren't something I could just find around here. But my best friend Miguel was down in Texas for work last week, and he found these and he picked them up for me, which is pretty cool because you might have spotted them in the background of my videos before, but I've got a bunch of Pops there, and you'll see right at the top I've got the other SNL characters. So there's Drunk Uncle, Dick in a Box, Will Ferrell from the Cowbell skit, and Stefan. So yeah, it's pretty cool to add these guys to my collection as well. And Miguel also picked me up this set of exclusives. So this is Michael Bolton and Samir from the movie Office Space. So let's pop these guys open. So here we are, Michael Bolton and Samir. And this was another 2-pack that I really appreciated him picking up for me because I have the other Office Space figures. I can't display them with these guys right now because they're all on my desk at work. But I'm a big fan of this movie, and you had to get Michael Bolton. He's one of the main cast members. And Samir as well. So it's great to get both of these guys. And they stand on their own, which is nice, but they do come with display bases, which is a luxury not all Pop figures come with, so that's cool to have that option. And best of all is they come with this printer, and the printer even has a TPS report. And if you're a fan of the movie, this scene comes from they're very frustrated with the printer, and as a gift to them, their friend sneaks it out of the office, and they take it out to a field, and they beat it to death with baseball bats. And the TPS reports is a whole separate joke, so they kind of combine them together for this, and it's a really cool addition to give us the printer along with these guys. So yeah, very happy with these figures. Okay, so that was the stuff that I got in the week or so leading up to the vacation. Now I will show you what I got while I was on vacation. So as I've mentioned a couple times already, my best friend Miguel is actually from Mexico. So every time he goes to Mexico, I ask him to keep his eyes peeled for weird, like bootleg superhero action figures. And he's brought me back some real gems over the years. So this one here, for example, is, I guess, Spider-Man with like weird mishmash of parts. Like you look at the sculpting on his legs, and this paint on his hands is literally flaking off by the second. Then he's got this weird wing contraption, I guess some sort of glider. Yeah, so this isn't a new toy I got, but this is just to give you an idea of some of the bootlegs Miguel has brought me over the years. Another one was a 2-pack of Batman and Nightwing, I guess. You can see the paint jobs on these guys is pretty terrible. But yeah, I love these stupid things. So there seems to be no shortage of them. Here's another cool one that Miguel brought me back one time. So this is Michelangelo of the Ninja Turtles. And what's cool about him is he's got a button on the back, and he lights up. So yeah, just weird and wonderful stuff like this. So 2 of the ones that he's brought me before are this really crappy Captain America and this really crappy Hulk. And I thought it would be kind of fun, since I was going to Mexico last week, to bring some of my bootlegs with me. So I chose these 2. And I was just taking kind of funny photographs of them on the beach and in the pool. And I just kind of created a whole little storyline on my Instagram. So yeah, if you're not already following me on Instagram, it's Mike's Collection Halifax. So yeah, if you want to see the adventures of these guys, who I have dubbed Captain Mexico and El Hulko, you can find their adventures on Instagram. And in one of the storylines, they were upset because they thought they'd been replaced by my new toys. So these ones here, these are all old ones. So here are my latest purchases, and this was a pretty lucky find because I was looking all over for bootleg superheroes and I couldn't find anything like this stuff. And then I came across these guys. So here is a 12-inch Iron Man. Let me get these guys on the way here. And Captain America. So there you go. And these guys both have parachutes. So I guess you could throw them up in the air and the parachute would bring them safely to the ground, I suppose. See, they've got really nice glittery outfits. The Iron Man is actually a pretty decent figure. I think this looks pretty cool. The Captain America is the one that makes me laugh. There's just some slight irregularities in his costume, such as the 3 stars there. And I don't know what is going on with this mask. But, there you go. I have yet to unmask them. I'll do that right now for you guys, so that I'm seeing their faces for the first time as well. There's Steve Rogers under his mask. And I'm going to guess that Tony Stark probably looks very, very similar. And what do you know? They're twins. So yeah, I thought these were a great find. So there you go. I've dubbed these guys Iron Amigo and El Capitan. So you'll see a little bit of them on Instagram as well if you decide to check that out. But anyway, they're really cheap. Like the body feels like the kind of Barbie doll body you would buy from the dollar store, like just hollow plastic. There's no bending of the knees or elbows or anything like that. But still, just a lot of fun. This is exactly the kind of crap that I hope to find when I go to Mexico. And lastly, I'll show you the stuff I've gotten in the 24 hours or so since I've been home from Mexico. So let's take a look at that stuff. So these first 2 that I'm going to show you, I actually did get before I went to Mexico, but I literally bought them like the day before. So I barely had time to look at them. I was getting some of my last things I needed, like sunscreen or whatever. I found these 2 items. I got home and I just kind of threw them aside in a bag while I packed up my stuff. So yeah, I haven't really spent any time looking at these. But this here is Optimus Prime. And this is just a die-cast vehicle. It doesn't transform at all. But at my local Walmart, they are currently selling the kind of reproduction of the Generation 1 Optimus Prime from the 80s. And he's packaged just like this, like he's in truck mode. And they're asking like $70 for it. And I've been tempted to get it just because it is kind of cool. I don't have a retro Optimus Prime, but for $70, I just can't justify it. But then I saw this thing, and it's got that really great retro 80s packaging, and this thing was like $10. So even though I don't normally buy like cars, metal cars, and I think I've mentioned probably multiple times to you guys that I don't really care about the vehicle modes for my Transformers. I always leave them in robot mode and I never transform them. I just thought this was kind of neat. I wouldn't buy a bunch of these things, but Optimus Prime, his truck mode is so iconic, and this packaging is so great that I think I'm just going to leave it in its box and probably just pin it up to the wall or something like this. So yeah, that was kind of a neat little find. And another neat little find was this G.I. Joe at the dollar store, and I think he was maybe $3. And so this is kind of like a reproduction of the vintage 12-inch G.I. Joe doll from the 70s with the lifelike hair. And yeah, this is another thing that I'll probably just keep in the packaging because it's kind of just a neat novelty. Like, Hasbro doesn't do anything with the G.I. Joe brand, and yet they decided to put this little thing out. So it's just strange. And he's got a little, it looks like binoculars as his one accessory. And like that beard on him is pretty crazy looking. But for $3, yeah, this is awesome. So here you go. Little G.I. Joe. So while I was on vacation, I did get a phone call that I didn't bother answering, so I didn't want to deal with the long distance charges. But it was from my local EB Games, or GameStop, and they told me that one of my pre-orders was in. At least that's what I assumed they were calling for. So sure enough, as soon as I got home, we had to go pick up some things like bread and milk, and I said, well, can I stop by EB Games because I got to pick up whatever pre-order came in, and it was this guy, Freddie Mercury. So let's take a look at him outside of the package. So here is Freddie. He's looking pretty great. This is kind of the Freddie that I am most familiar with. I guess it's kind of based on his like Live Aid outfit. But yeah, the mustachioed Freddie Mercury is the one I kind of grew up with. There was another Freddie Mercury figure released earlier. This one here with the kind of long hair and the onesie from the Bohemian Rhapsody video. But that's not really, even though that's a great song and a great video, this is the Freddie Mercury that I grew up on. So I opted for this one, and I think it looks great. He's got his little mic stand there, his jacket, he's even got his little chest hair. Pretty cool. So there you go, Freddie Mercury. And when I ran into EB Games to get my Freddie Mercury, I noticed that this set was on sale, marked down from $70 down to $25, which is less than the price of a single Marvel Legend figure. So yeah, I was happy to pick up this pack because even though I have no need for this Thor, I kind of wanted Sif. Now I would actually prefer a comic version of Sif rather than the cinematic universe version. But yeah, the only one they've made in the comic book style came as like a San Diego multi-pack with like 5 other figures. So I'm unlikely to get that one. So yeah, I was happy to get this one for $24. So let's quickly pop this open and take a look at these guys. Okay, so first we'll take a look at Thor. So this is Thor based on his look from the second movie, Thor the Dark Ages. Or no, the Dark World. Yeah, Thor the Dark World. And I don't love this figure. Like, it's fine, but the way they do the faces nowadays, where it's basically almost like an image of the actor printed right on the plastic, and some of them look great. This just does not look like Chris Hemsworth as far as I'm concerned. So it's an okay figure, but definitely not one I would have bought on its own. And I actually don't have a great Thor figure yet. The other Thor figures I have in my Marvel Legends are this movie Thor from the third Thor movie, Ragnarok. But this isn't the look I would want my standard Thor to have, with the war paint on his face and swords. The only reason I really got that figure is because I really wanted all the pieces to the Build-A-Figure to create the Gladiator Hulk, which is also how I ended up with this Thor, which is supposed to be kind of a young Thor before he had his hammer. Yeah, it's based on a Jason Aaron comic book, which was really great, but I just didn't really need a figure of this guy. And then lastly, I have Lady Thor here. So lots of Thors, but not really any Thor that I love. But there is a classic Thor coming out very soon in his kind of standard iconic 80s outfit. So I'll probably get that one, and that will be my main Thor for my collection. Now I do currently have a Thor that I display with my Marvel Legends figures, even though it's actually a Marvel Select figure, and that's this Thor here. And this is kind of based on his armored look from, I don't know, the early 2000s or so. And I thought this was a great figure. I still think it's great. It's a little taller than the other Marvel Legends figures I have, but Thor's a big guy, so it makes sense. They actually did make Thor in this outfit in Marvel Legends not too long ago as well, but I didn't feel the need to rebuy it because I still think this version in the Select is better than the Marvel Legends version. So yeah, he does pretty well for me as my default Thor, but it's still not his classic costume, so I might pick that one up anyway. Although I will mention, at a glance you wouldn't notice this. I didn't notice this when I bought it, but this has driven me crazy for about the 10 years that I've had this figure, is that one of his wings on his helmet is glued on backwards. So, yeah, his feathers don't match. And ever since I noticed it, it drives me fucking crazy. But still, a pretty awesome figure otherwise. And so along with Thor in that pack, we got Lady Sif. And this is a pretty nice figure. I think this is a much better likeness to the actress. And yeah, it's just a nicely sculpted figure. Lots of nice detail. She's got a few accessories. She's got this sword here. She also has this double-bladed spear, which comes in 2 pieces. And then she also has this shield here, which, that's a very small shield. She must be very confident to go into battle with just that protecting her. But, yeah. Pretty great. And I'm happy to get her for such a great price. So all the other items I got today, they came in the mail. I had a few items I had ordered over the last couple of weeks, and they all showed up while I was on vacation. So the first one being this Masters of the Universe Classics hover robots. So there's the standard Masters of the Universe Classic box. Now these things were a convention exclusive that I missed out on when they first came out a couple of years ago. But then Big Bad Toy Store, they got a big stock of Masters of the Universe stuff, and then they had these guys on sale at a pretty good price. So I was pretty stoked to have the opportunity to get them. So you see you get 3 different robots, all in the Classics packaging. A little bio on the back. So yeah, let me just pop these guys open right quick and we'll take a look at them. Okay, so here are the hover robots out of the packaging. So you can see there they've got that clear display base to kind of make it look like they're hovering. So here's the third one. Now I don't know if you can tell from those, but his little, on his mouthpiece there, it's kind of like a lenticular sticker. So it kind of looks like it's moving as you turn them. It's pretty cool. He's actually got articulation on the arms, so they bend at the elbows there. I think their head's turning as well, so that's pretty cool. And then of course the arms move up and down. So pretty good articulation for basically a floating garbage can here. So let me put him on his base there as well. So that works pretty well. It's similar to the base that Orko came on. And another neat effect is there was lots of these guys back in the old cartoon. So if you really wanted to build a whole army of them and buy a whole bunch, and you wanted to differentiate them, so this package also came with a bunch of extra hands. So you can display some with open hands and some with gripping hands. And another neat thing it came with was this sticker sheet, which has like battle damage. So you could see cracks in them where you would see wires being split, or these just look like blaster marks, various scrapes and scuffs. So you could put these all over them just to differentiate your army. So if you wanted to buy like multiple packs of these and have like 9 or 12 of them, you could make them all unique with those stickers. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So there you go, hover robots. The other item I got from Big Bad Toy Store was Marvel's Magic. So this is one of the New Mutants, and this figure was, I believe, a Walgreens exclusive. We don't have Walgreens here in Canada, at least not in Atlantic Canada where I'm at. So yeah, there was really no way for me to get this around here, so I had to go online, pay a bit of a premium, but this is a character that I really like, so I'm happy to finally get her. So let's pop this one open and take a look. Alright, so here is Magic. Now I'll be honest, I've been reading New Mutants comic books since I was 8 years old. I was reading the New Mutants before I was even reading the X-Men. And yeah, so I've been a fan of this character a whole long time. But for many, many years, I did not know how to pronounce her name. It's Magic with a K instead of a C. And I would pronounce it Magique. I'm not sure why. And even her regular civilian name, I guess, is Ilyana. But when I was a kid, I used to call her Elena. I'm really not sure. So I think it's Ilyana and Magic. But I could be wrong about those. Anyway, she looks pretty great here. Really like that head sculpt. And she's got a lot of accessories here. So, bring this stuff around. You'll notice I'm a little sunburnt there from my vacation. So she's got sword here. Yeah. She's got a pretty serious sword. She's got a little dragon, which I don't believe is supposed to be Again, I'm not even sure this guy's name. I think it's Lockheed. This is a repaint of the Lockheed that came with the Shadowcat figure. But where Ilyana goes into limbo and hangs out with demons and stuff, so I guess this is just supposed to be a little demon. Also, she's got this flaming like Ghost Rider skull, which I don't know. You could just kind of consider that some sort of demon, I suppose. She's got an alternate hand here, so you can change that hand into... It's currently a fist. But she's got a bunch of magic spell type things here. These little clear plastic doohickeys. And so if you want to make it look like she's casting some sort of spell, maybe the open palm would work a little better. So here's another one of those effects. We've seen these before. These have come with a bunch of characters like Electro and stuff. It can represent lots of different types of powers. And then she's also got another sword with kind of one of those magic effects wrapped around it. I don't know if I can get this in the hand. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Lots of cool stuff going on here. I think she looks great. She's one of those characters who's never really had an iconic outfit. I do like this choice for her, but something that I'm hoping I can do if I pop her head off here. Oh, here, I'll break away for a second. So this didn't quite work out the way I was hoping it would. This body here is kind of the standard X-Men cadet uniform, which most of the New Mutants wore. And I was hoping her head would just fit on this body that came with Kitty Pryde, but the neck hole there doesn't quite fit. So that's unfortunate, because it would have been nice to have that option to display her that way. But regardless, still a pretty cool figure, and I'm happy to finally get magic. So this next figure was also in the mailbox waiting for me when I got home. Now this here is Repeater, and this is from the 2009 Rise of Cobra action figure line, which was based on the live action movie. Although Repeater never actually appeared in the movie, as the movie line went on, they kind of released these figures kind of with the same movie aesthetic, but just for characters that didn't actually appear in the movie. Now, this guy was part of a 4-pack that was a Toys R Us exclusive, along with Footloose and Law and Dial Tone. I don't have Law or Footloose, but I did pick up Dial Tone after the fact. I paid a premium to get her on eBay a couple of years ago. Now, I had ignored that whole pack, partly because I didn't like the look of these characters. They didn't look like the original versions of these guys. For example, Repeater was white and Dial Tone was a man. So, yeah, when I saw these versions, it just seemed like Hasbro wasn't even trying or paying attention to what these characters were supposed to look like, so I just ignored it. However, as the years went on, they actually introduced a female Dial Tone into the comic books, and she was a separate character from the male Dial Tone. So then all of a sudden I wanted that figure, but this whole pack had gone up in price quite a bit, and I had to pay a real premium to get her online later. Now they never have introduced a black Repeater, so this remains kind of like a unique toy. Now we did get this figure of Repeater from the Collectors Club. Now this looks like the classic 80s Repeater. So once I got that, there was really no need to get this figure. But I just kind of liked the look of it, kind of in hindsight. If I don't picture it as Repeater and just imagine it to be a different character, this is a well-made figure. I don't think it has any new parts. I think that's actually Serpentor's head that they just recast in different colored plastic there. And it has a removable hat, which is pretty cool. Even though the colors are a little dull, it's not too bad. And so I found myself really kind of hoping to track this figure down, but I didn't really want to pay too much money for him. So I was pretty stoked when I found some guy on Instagram selling them for $10 the other week. So there you go. Rise of Cobra Repeater. So the last new figures that I have to tell you about are these 3 G.I. Joe figures. Now, these might not look familiar to you as any G.I. Joe character that you know. But what these are essentially bootleg figures, I guess. But unlike the Mexican ones, these are very well made. Now, this has been this guy who's been doing this for a long time in the G.I. Joe community, who goes by the name Black Major. And I guess he has the molds for some of these original Hasbro figures from the 80s. And he uses them to create new versions of these characters in really unique and fun paint jobs that we never got in the vintage line. So this here is the standard Cobra Trooper, who normally you would see in blue. But here he is in like a yellow tiger striped outfit. And like the paint job is like factory paint. Looks just like something Hasbro would produce. And so Black Major's been making all kinds of variations of different Cobra Troopers for several years. And I've never pulled the trigger on buying them, partly because I'm kind of done with the vintage line, like this O-ring style. I've completely moved on to the modern era, like you see in the background there. But after seeing them so many times, I just kind of caved. He's been coming out with a lot of new designs lately that really kind of caught my eye. So yeah, this Tiger Cobra Trooper I thought was really cool. And then this here is a Tiger Force Starduster. And I never owned Starduster. He was kind of a hard to get character back in the day. He was like a mail away. So this guy's removable helmet. Jetpack. But yeah, you can see the quality of this paint. Like, this is not some, homemade figure. Like, he's really well put together. There's the visor. And lastly, this one here I thought was really cool. So I think he labels this one as Cobra Invaser, which is named after a foreign repaint to Snake Eyes. As far as I'm concerned, this is Cobra Diarco, or Steel Cobra. And you can see here he's got kind of a Canadian outfit. He's painted in white and red, the colors of our flag, and he's got the Canadian maple leaf on his chest with the Cobra logo inside. So he's got Snake Eyes' head, except it's chromed. And then that's like Flash's body and Flash's weapons, the laser pack and laser gun. So yeah, these are really cool. Now I will say that their joints are quite loose, and they all seem to have trouble holding their weapons. Like the Cobra Trooper especially, this is really flimsy in his hand. He just seems to have no grip on it whatsoever. And their legs and everything just feels kind of loose on these guys. But I don't intend to play with them out in the sandbox or anything. They're really just display pieces. And I'm worried I might have opened a can of worms with these things because, yeah, he's been releasing new figures really fast lately. Just new repaints of snow serpents and bats and night vipers and alley vipers and all kinds of different variations of Snake Eyes or Invaser, whatever you want to call them, the Cobra Troopers. Yeah, just a ton of really cool stuff. And I gotta say, I really love these things. I'm glad I did finally pull the trigger on them. And yeah, you'll probably see me get more of these guys in the future. But yeah, I probably could talk about these guys a little bit more, but I feel this video's run pretty long, so let's wrap this up. Okay, so that's all my new purchases. So yeah, I'll be back again with another episode later in the week. Thanks a lot for all of you who have been watching. I'm still pretty new to this. I know there's people out there that have millions and millions of views, but for my little channel, I'm pretty stoked that I just hit 5,000 views. I think I'm up to 78 subscribers, and quite a few people have been leaving me comments, which I appreciate all of them. Hardly any snarky ones yet, which is pretty crazy for being on the internet doing this publicly for 2 months now. So yeah, by all means, keep watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe. And yeah, if you have any suggestions for videos, if you've been watching my videos, or if you go back now and look at my list of videos I've done some of these general episodes, and I've also done some specific reviews of action figures. Recently I've been doing my top figures of the year list, going back at last few years. And yeah, so a couple of my viewers have given me some ideas for videos, which very much appreciated. So yeah, if there's anything you want to see or want me to talk about, let me know in the comments. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.